Usually these signs here are some type of sign that you see when there's a terrorist attack. Let's start with number one. Number one is surveillance. Surveillance means somebody is watching the site. All right, nowadays, if somebody wanted to watch your house, they wouldn't turn the car towards your house. They would turn the car in the opposite direction. They put a sunscreen in there so you know nobody's in there, and they would use their mirrors to watch your house. A lot of things nowadays when it comes to the 8 signs of terrorism and watching is wireless cameras. There's a famous place that one day they went through and they inventoried all the cameras in the place. And for example, they knew they should have 100 cameras. They counted the cameras, they had 102. They found 2 cameras that should not have been there. Somebody had rigged them up, they were wireless, but they put the cables to make it look like it was hardwired to their system. They were watching internally. So if anybody got a Ring or Vivid, or there's so many of the different ones, Blinks, you can put them things up and you can watch remotely. So surveillance. Surveillance means they're watching the site. Elicitation and seeking information. What's one of the best sources for information for a site? Security. When you do your job, learn how to be evasive at times. There's times people will ask you, they'll come to an area and they'll say, how come, are you working by yourself today? Where's the second officer? Well, I've trained my officers to say, well, how often do you come here? And the driver will say, well, I come here once a week. Well, when you come back next week, let's see how many of us is here then. And that driver can come back next week, and it might be one officer there. All right, you have to learn, don't give away information. Test of security. And for example, they show you a bag left unattended. Okay, what's your procedures? What's your post orders? Every job will have post orders. What you're going to want to know is, if a bag's unattended, what should you do? We don't pick it up.
I would say, why you supposed to touch
We
it?
don't shake it. I'm sorry, say again.
That's what I was about to say. You ain't supposed to touch it.
Yeah, don't touch it. There should be something in place. You should have a post order. If you don't know, contact your supervisor. All right. Acquiring supplies. The Boston bombers made their bombs from pressure cookers, from fireworks, from nails and pellets. All right. So supplies. It takes supplies to make bombs. I always say, get to know your neighbor. I don't think I've never had to kill for a meal. I'm not a hunter. All right? So if you saw me walking in my house with a crate of shotgun shells, I would say be concerned. All right, why? What do I need them from? Never seen. You know the hunters in your neighborhood. They come out. They can't just discreetly put the shotgun in the car. It almost becomes like a big event for them. All right? So get to know your neighbors. All right, the supplies you need to make bombs. Suspicious people who don't belong. You work at a site, you know what a site looks like. You know what people should have on them. At my site, you can't take backpacks and bottles into certain areas. Why would somebody bring those things into those areas when they know they don't belong there? Get to know the people who belongs where and at what time. Dry run, trail run. Dry run, trail run. Let's talk about the Post nightclub. Anybody remember the Post nightclub? 47 people died in Florida. The man went into the nightclub. He visited the club so much. The thought was he was a member of the Post nightclub community. But he visited so much that he knew when he went in and started shooting that there was only 2 places for people to go. Anybody remember the 2 places everybody ran to? The men's room and the women's room, the bathroom. When you go out, learn to look. When you sit down, look and see where the nearest exit is. Me and my wife do that all the time. Hey, honey, where's the nearest exit? Right there. Where do you think the nearest exit is? Right there, because the chair's going through the window. Get an idea where the nearest exit is. When you go out to clubs and movies, you know now the windows are up high. Because the thought is they don't want you to pay to get in and then allow all your friends in and they pay you to come in. All right, so always when you go out, if you are the most trained security professional in your group, no matter what your significant other does, whether he or she's a doctor, whether he or she's a nurse, an engineer, if you are the trained security professional, you do not sit with your back to the door. Because you know what something looks like. You know when it doesn't look right. All right? And they will rely on you to be able to observe it, point it out, and to tell them what action they should take. Dry run, trial run. People will walk in the area. They'll know ahead of time what's going to happen when they come into the place and they start shooting. Deploying assets, getting into position. 9/11, how did the terrorists get into position to bring the towers down? What did they use to bring the towers down? Planes. How did they learn to fly the planes?
Went to school.
They took lessons. They learned how to take off. They learned how to read, how to fly. They never showed up for the landing incidents. All right. So think about it. I'm sure it's a little different now if you sign up for classes. When a terrorists believe that there's greater honor in death than life. That was unheard of. Killing yourself flying a plane into a building in the past. But it is not now. Because if somebody believes that there's more reward in death than it is in life, then they have no problem dying. Suicide bombers, we see that all over the world. And it's just a matter of time before we see more of it in this country. Number 8, terrorist funding. Terrorist funding, we know terrorists, they own oil wells in the Middle East. They have, Osama bin Laden's father was a billionaire. Hey, Dad, I want to bring the towers down. Okay, son, what do you need? I don't know, $1 million. No problem. What bank account you want it in? All right, so terrorists have money to do things. All right, what you're going to see on the test is the phone numbers. So write the phone numbers down. All right. You'll see all the phone numbers on the test, and it will ask you about the 8 signs of terrorism. All right.